friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing with you a video about knife skills and how to use a knife safely. Knife skills are super important for anyone who's learning to cook. So I wanted to make this video so that you feel a little bit more comfortable using knives in your kitchen. Now, a couple really quick things before we get started. Number one, you should always have an adult supervising or helping you when you are working with knives. And number two, practice makes perfect. It is not easy to learn how to use knives and use them properly and safely, so don't worry if it feels a little bit difficult at first. The more you use them, the easier it will become. All right, let's get into the video.
Okay, friends, so I have here 4 common knives. This first one is called a chef's knife, and it is really great for cutting hard fruits and hard vegetables, as well as meats and herbs and nuts. You can see it has a sharp side and a non-sharp side, and it is the biggest knife that I have here. Our next knife is called a bread knife or a serrated knife because it has this serrated edge right here. And this knife is really neat because it's actually used like a saw. It goes back and forth through foods, and it's really good for cutting foods that are hard on the outside but soft on the inside, like a loaf of bread or a tomato or a melon. This next knife is a little bit smaller, and it's called a paring knife. This knife is great for precise movements, precise cuts, so things like small fruits and vegetables as well as herbs. And our last knife is called a butter knife or a dinner knife, and it is not the sharpest blade. It's best for spreading things like peanut butter or cutting soft foods like bananas. And lastly, we have something called a safety knife, which is usually made out of plastic or nylon, so it's not as sharp as a metal knife, and it's really great for beginners or people who are just getting used to knives. I'll link some of those that you can buy in the description box of this video. When choosing a knife, it's important to pick one that is most comfortable for you, and oftentimes the smaller the knife, the more comfortable. So it's always better to start small. Now let's get into our demo here, and we're going to talk about how you should grip your knives. So it's important to take the hand that you are not holding the knife with. You're going to curl your fingers in and turn it sideways on the food. This is called a bear claw because it's kind of like a bear claw with your fingers curled in. And we do it so that you don't cut off your fingertips. It actually makes it so that you can cut right against your knuckles, but you won't hurt or cut off your fingertips. For your other hand, the hand that you pick up the knife with, you're going to take your thumb and your pointer finger and place them on the base of the blade, where the blade meets the handle. Your other fingers will curl around, and when we put it all together, it looks like this. We do a little bit of pressure and a little bit of back and forth, and we get this cut on the cucumber. It's a little bit jagged, but pretty good. Now I'm going to show you on the paring knife, nicer blade here. So bear claw, crab pinch, and it slides right through and gives us a little bit of a smoother, cleaner cut on the cucumber. I'm going to show you from the side the same exact thing here. A little bit of pressure and a little bit of back and forth. Now, as you can see here, the cucumber is really wobbly, so the easiest thing we can do is cut it in half so that we have 2 flat sides to work with. That way the cucumber doesn't roll around and it'll be a lot easier and more stable to cut. So here is some examples of that. And if we want, we can even go further, cut it in half again, and get smaller pieces. You can do this as many times as you need to get the right size chop. And now I'm going to show you something called a tunnel cut, which is where you take your thumb and all your fingers and you make a little tunnel that your knife can slide through, and you can cut. It's really stable because you're holding onto both sides of the cucumber. All right, so once you've used your knives, it's important to know how to place them on the cutting board, and there are 3 things you need to know. The first thing you should know is that your knives should always be fully on the cutting board. You don't want the edges hanging off or the blade hanging off. That's really dangerous. The second thing you're going to want to know is that your blade should always be flat on the cutting board. We don't want it to be standing up or on its side. We want the knife to be flat and not at an angle. And the third thing you want to know is that the pointy part of the knife, the tip, should always be facing away from you and your body. So we don't want the blade facing towards us, and we definitely don't want the blade hanging off the side or the edge. So on the board facing away from you, flat side down, is the safest way to place your knife when you're done using it.
All right, friends, that's all for this knife safety tutorial. I hope you remember your bear claw, your crab pinch, and to always keep your knives facing away from you and on the cutting board flat. I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.